Hello lovelies, my name is Dragon Slayer Delos and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about Pearl Abyss's brand new open world adventure, Crimson Desert. Crimson Desert experienced a lot of hype and momentum heading into its official launch on March 19th. Like, it was being made out to be the next big game of the generation. However, the game suffered from several bugs and crash issues at launch, along with middling early impressions from critics. If people aren't aware, before the review period, the critics were only given PC review codes. So a lot of people, myself included, were thinking that we might have another cyberpunk situation on our hands. Yet Pearl Abyss has been hard at work delivering immersive patches and listening to player feedback. This includes the console performance because, not as bad as Cyberpunk, but performance on launch for consoles was less than ideal for Crimson Desert. Um, but as the days progress, sentiment around the game has grown to be mostly positive, with Crimson Desert crossing the huge milestone of 3 million units sold this week. I myself have sunk a lot of time into the game when I could, and definitely have had my ups and downs so far in the first dozen or so hours under my belt. But it has left enough of an impression on me to spur in a video to want to talk to you all about the game and my experiences. I'm clocking in at about 12 to 15 hours on PlayStation. The game time can get little wonky, and the save files don't show you your playtime. But we're just going to go with that ballpark of an answer. So let's dive right into the topic of the video. Crimson Desert is a game set in the realm of Pywell, and fantastical land loosely associated with Pearl Abyss's popular MMO, Black Desert Online. Crimson Desert's story mainly revolves around Cliff and his fellow mercenary faction, the Greymanes, or as I like to call them, the Watchers on the Wall Game of Thrones ripoffs. Cliff is quickly charged by otherworldly beings from a separate plane known as the Abyss to fight evil forces and find ne'er-do-wells affecting his world and put a stop to it. It's that vague. There's apparently some shenanigans going on that we don't know about, and they're like, "Hey, go fix this. You're a good guy. You help out people." And Cliff just takes this in stride. He's like, "Okay, cool, I got this." Does not once question him dying and being brought back to life by these beings. Does not question him being so far up in the sky, these alien-like ruins. None of that. He just accepts it. He's just built different, I guess, and we move on with the story. The story has been mildly intriguing to me at best in parts. Most of that is my own sense of roleplay and innovating stories within my head. I share a lot of people's sentiment, though, with the fact that most players will find enjoyment with Crimson Desert's sandbox specifically. The game has a massive open world with many secrets and puzzles, albeit often convoluted to discover, random side quests ranging from interesting adventures and MMO like fetch quests, mini games like rock paper scissors, arm wrestling, blends of genre aesthetics, steampunk and high fantasy, and skill trees to progress. There is a lot of game packed within this video game, and performance has been mostly stable from my experience. Again, my experience is playing on a base PlayStation 5. There's been some finagling going around to get the game to look as best as it can on my system setup. However, as I mentioned prior, the devs have been slowly tweaking it, and the game does look pretty good now running on its base console. I'm not sure about Series S though. That one probably is going to get you very middling to low performance just because of the nature of that console, but I digress. It's true the controls of the game often produce too much friction. Whether something simple like grabbing an item off a table or inputting skill moves and combos, the game often feels like it's forcing you to perform an unnecessary extra step, or makes the action feel less than seamless and snappy. Yet most of my frustration has come from Crimson Desert's boss battles and enemy density within certain combat encounters. I've only encountered a handful of bosses so far. However, the difficulty with these spike in an absurd way compared to your normal trash mobs you encounter while adventuring. I faced true frustration when fighting the infamous Reed Devil early on in the game. After a grueling slog through his minions, up a cliff, both ways, through high snow reeds, I might have made up the snow part, but you get my drift. You're forced into an unexpected three-phase boss fight equipped with a second stage mechanic very similar to an MMO or RPG, and a boss battle that is both unbelievably fast at times, and hard hitting. It feels like this type of challenge comes from absolutely nowhere, and after being humbled multiple times, I left to try and scrounge even more healing upgrades and equipment upgrades. I came back with more patience and tools to finally defeat the devil. However, I didn't feel satisfaction compared to beating a boss in Elden Ring, Kazan, or any other Souls-like. I just felt relief to be done with the affair. The only caveat here is the atmosphere and vibe with the boss battle was a treat to behold when I wasn't grinding my teeth. And from what I hear of critics, these type of cool aura vibe encounters with bosses does continue to persist. However, that frustration and friction I felt with the Redevil might continue. The second frustration is with enemy destiny. There are times when you are tasked to face a horde of enemies and clear them out. Movement for Cliff is more grounded than snappy when compared to other action adventure games or even Souls-like. As such, you can quickly be comboed by enemies if surrounded, as blocking only covers Cliff's front and locks on one target. Switching targets, as you can imagine, is not snappy. Again, the camera is often slow to maneuver, and I think it can be alleviated somewhat through the settings of your controls. However, it's still less than ideal. There is an early side quest where you must clear out bandits from a quarry. Also, the quarry is filled with explosive barrels that will kill you if even a feather lands on them. Trust me, I found out the hard way. Multiple times. This took me way too long to complete, not due to a lack of skill, explosive barrels aside, or equipment, but because there were that many enemies to kill. Luckily, you can summon a companion for the section. I brought Damien, one of the other playable characters, outside the story, along with me to share aggro and do what she can to chip away at enemies. It made the process slightly less mind-numbingly boring. However, I hear areas like these persist in the game and get worse, including a main story quest further down the line. Just to give you all an idea of how long it took me to complete the quarry, I started out at the beginning of nighttime settling in. By the time I finished, the game had progressed to almost the late morning, early afternoon. Like, that's a little bit ridiculous. And this brings me to another point and complaint when I mentioned Damien. There are two other side characters that are playable in the game. Damien is a woman you meet early on in the game. She is just presented as a side character in initial cutscenes. However, she's the first other alternative playable character unlocked after she joins Cliff in the Greymane camp. Unka, we see right from the get-go at Inside Incident, is another Greymane and more of a heavy brawler type character. He gets tossed into the wind after the first raiding on the Greymane camp, and we don't see him for some time. I'm still not sure how long it takes to unlock Unka because I haven't gotten there myself, but people have complained that at least characters like Damien seem a little bit more interesting than Cliff, and they would have preferred to be able to play her from the get go. And to make matters even worse, these other characters lack the Abyss abilities that allow Cliff to do certain puzzles, and Cliff is the only character that can be played for main story quests and a couple of major side quests. So it's nice that we have these alternate characters, but often they can feel like half of a character compared to Cliff due to the abilities at their disposal. That might seem like a lot of me just ragging on the game, yet I am having fun with the wonder and exploration of it all with Crimson Desert. I have loved seeing the community discover new things, share tips with each other, and laugh about the game's absurd moments. Furthermore, Pearl Abyss has been quick to implement changes from player feedback, so many of my previous gripes may get fixed soon. This game is a solid, okay to good game, and certainly won't vibe with everyone. I'm not even sure if I'm up for a 100-hour plus adventure in Crimson Desert, as there is a lot of video games that are out or up and coming. However, for now, I like to continue on this little adventure as a Greymane, because I really do like exploring the world of Pywell at times. Some random things to happen upon, like a bird passing you a note after landing on your shoulder, a random bounty turning into a hilarious chase, or other crazy sandbox things that you can just do, like fly a trade randomly in town, see other NPCs live out their day and actually have a set routine like a normal person. It is really cool to check out. And the reviews on Steam for the game have now turned into mostly positive last time I checked. The game is slowly gaining momentum and that fervor that everyone really had for it before it released. So it is cool to see, and it is a nice win for these developers, as Crimson Desert originally was supposed to be a prequel MMO to Black Desert Online. They decided to change it just to a single player action open world game, and here we are. What this entails for Crimson Desert's future, not really sure. The game director has said that he is open to bringing further innovations to the game, like possible story expansions and the like, but time will tell. Well, that's all that I have for you all today. Thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. If you like the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel because that lets YouTube know that you like content coming from this girl. Thank you so much. My name is Dragon Slayer Delos. I love your faces, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, lovelies.